Hey, it's Dr. Kate Walker. Who am I? Hey, it's Dr. Kate Walker. Welcome to your Tuesday training. I'm so happy to be here. And I am going to talk today about quick website fixes. And I thought about this and I was like, okay, that's great. I'm going to give them something that they can do today. But then I thought, well, what if they had more time? What if they have somebody to help them? Or what if they're really, really good at getting into their back office and changing things? So I'm going to give you more than that. You're going to get some ideas to do website fixes that may take more than a day, but will really give you a return on your investment. So this is part of our summer boot camp. And remember our premise, right? When I started this a few weeks ago, I said you have to have changes you can measure, right? Beyond SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, trackable, reasonable, whatever SMART stands for. You have to have something called KPIs, key performance indicators, and those help you change more quickly. You can almost look at these like you would look at your speedometer on your car, or your gas gauge on your car, like, ooh, I got to change something quickly, I got to put more gas in, I got to put the brakes on. Something that can help you know if what you're doing is actually affecting the things you want it to affect. And one of the things I gave you guys was more phone calls. And I'm putting that in air quotes for those of you who are listening. And the reason I'm putting it in air quotes is because, I realize not everybody likes phone calls. So it's whatever contact you get. So whether it's an email or a text message or a phone message, that contact has to be what one of the KPIs that we're measuring, or that I recommend. And there were three others. You can go back and listen to another training. But today I really want to focus on that first KPI, which is contact, or quote unquote phone call. That's the first touch. We want to increase those. And so if you think about it like a hot dog stand, right? If you're going to open up a hot dog stand, now, interesting story. I'm going to tell a couple of stories today related to the latest adventure my husband and I just had. He is working in El Paso, and we don't live in El Paso. I love El Paso. El Paso, I love you so much, and I love coming to give CEs for you, and I love the University of Texas, El Paso. I'm wearing my Miners shirt today, if you can see that. But to get from El Paso, I'm sorry, El Lampasas to El Paso, nothing's close in Texas. Just for those of you who are listening, maybe you're a non-Texan, listen to this. It is far, and this time of year, it is really, really, really hot. So when you're thinking about a hot dog stand, right? You're going to open up your hot dog stand. You're probably not going to get a lot of business if you open your hot dog stand along the road between Lampasas and El Paso. There's just not a lot there. You won't get a lot of traffic. So instead, if you open that hot dog stand on the corner of Times Square in the middle of Manhattan, you're going to have 1 million people walk past your hot dog stand. Now, that first impression, that traffic, that's what's going to raise your conversion to sale, right? And when we talk about a sale, we talk about that first booked session that someone actually attends, which, by the way, is another one of the KPIs I wanted you to measure. So when we're looking at that contact, there I go, making my air quotes again, we want to increase the number of contacts, because if you do the math, I'm going to sell more hot dogs on the corner of Times Square in Manhattan than I will if I just open it up along the road between Lampasas and El Paso. I've got more traffic. Now, I can get into conversion rates, and I will get into conversion rates because our boot camp is going to include one of our sessions is going to be about exactly what to say to help a client either choose you or become a raving fan. And that's what we would call a conversion speech. And we'll get to that later, but we're talking about traffic right now. And that's what your website is for. Your website is about generating traffic. Okay, that's for the Google machine, right? We want to optimize your website so that people find you. but then we want them to stick around for a few minutes. I mean, that would be wonderful if you have such good content and your website is so appealing that people are spending some time there. And then we want them to take action. We call that a call to action, CTA. We want them to do a thing on your website. So today, what we're talking about is that contact. We want them to make contact with you on the website. So quick fixes, things that you can do today. I'm going to divide it into two categories. There are those of you I know who are listening to me who cannot access your back office. So, and that's okay. I want you to learn. I'm going to put my feet in the concrete today. I want you to learn that. I'm writing it right now in the concrete. I want you to learn how to access your back office, but you may not be able to do that today. That's all right. The ideas that I'm giving you today, you will be able to translate that and tell that to whoever is managing your website. If you're listening to me and your website is kind of just a stamped out website from a big provider, perhaps you're using kind of a robust practice management system, one of the big names, and they're like, hey, by the way, we give you a website. You can't do anything to it, but here you go. Then maybe one of the changes you're going to make today is actually to make the investment into a website that you can modify. So I hope that I put you in the camp of at least wanting to get some control over your content. You just have to. The world moves too fast for you not to be able to have some control over your content. And then, of course, the other category I know I'm talking to are those of you who feel pretty comfortable getting into your back office. I mean, maybe you're not a web guru and that's okay, but you at least know how to log into your website. You know how to make some tweaks and some adjustments, and that's okay. That's good. I mean, you're going to learn some things today. So, number one fix I want you to make today is to make sure your website is mobile friendly, right? I'm talking to you right now. I'm in my RV. I'm in El Paso, Texas. I'm on my laptop, but it is on a desktop. So for right now, it's not in my lap, it's a desktop. So, but that's unusual. Most of your customers, your potential clients, are going to be on their phone, right? Very few of us get into a situation where we're like, oh my gosh, I need a counselor, and we're going to be sitting at a desk taking our time. I mean, I know that happens, but we want to be able to go back and forth, and we want to make sure that our websites look the same on a phone as they do on the nice laptop, the big screen. Good news is most of your websites are going to do that anyway. I mean, I just don't think that's even an issue anymore, but it's a quick fix because you can literally just kind of look yourself up on your phone and say, oh my gosh, that's not what I want my picture to look like, right? I mean, you may find things elongated or smushed, or the thing you thought was so eye-catching in that very first eye glance is like you have to scroll 50 times to get to it. You've got to know that. You have to know what your site looks like on your phone. Back in the day, I remember looking at my phone going, holy moly, this looks terrible. Like I had this beautiful website. I thought I tweaked it. But lucky for me, I do have a web guru. She's amazing. And she helped me get it all mobile friendly so that whoever has my phone, and that became part of my marketing pitch. And if you listened to me before, you know, I have a marketing pitch. Sometimes we call it an elevator speech. And part of my elevator speech was, and click the orange button, right? So people had their phone out and they could click the orange button. It was where I wanted it to be. And it was, you know, easy to access. So number one fix in one day, make sure your website is mobile friendly. Now, you may have heard me mention the term eye gaze. So when you're looking at a website, you don't want to have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll to get to the, I'm making the air quotes again, contact, right? Whether it's your phone number, a contact form, an email, something like that. That should be in the first eye gaze, right? And I know some of us, we're like, oh, but I just got this master's degree. I want to post all about what counseling is and my favorite hobbies. And I like to walk on the beach and I like horses and fuzzy bunnies and all of those things. That's wonderful, but that's about you, right? As a business person, what you're doing is you're helping your client see themselves in your services. So it's kind of like when you sell a house. If you've ever sold a house before, your realtor is going to say, get all the personal pictures off the wall because we want the customer to picture themselves in your house. So in that first eye gaze, we're going to help our potential client see themselves as someone who could get to you and they would feel comfortable with you. And I'm going to talk about what personal things you can put and are, helpful to put in that first eye gaze, or at least within the first scroll. So check the first eye gaze. If you have the ability to get into your back office, I think your phone number, honestly, or however you want people to contact you, for me, it was a contact button. I used a widget that connected to a self-scheduling option for a 10-minute free consultation. And I've got a lot of podcasts about this where I mention I love the free consultation. I love the idea for people to self-schedule a 10-minute consultation because I don't like a lot of touches. I don't like the phone tag. I don't like the back and forth. I want there to be a time because it saves me time, which helps me make more money and serve more people, right? That's what this is about, right? Playing 10 rounds of phone tag isn't helping anybody. It's not paying my bills, and it certainly is not helping my client, my potential client, get the help they need or move on and find a therapist who can help them. So we've got eye gaze, we've got mobile friendly. Another thing that you can do, again, you can either go into your own back office or tell your web guru, make sure that your images are compressed. Now, a couple things about images. One is compression, one is the alt text. So compression is important because sometimes we upload these images and they're huge. Like we don't realize how huge these images are. You want to test that theory, try to email like a headshot of yourself. I'm going to get a drink of water. Excuse me. And email now is a lot easier to adjust the compression or the size of a photo that you're emailing. But your website's the same way. It's like, okay, Kate, I really want to hold this picture up and I want to show everybody, all the potential clients, but it's just so heavy. And that in website terms means it's going to slow your site down. And so when you go in and compress those images, those of you who blog and you're using Canva, if you're using WordPress, you can actually go in there and click compression when you're uploading any kind of images at all. It's super convenient. There are plugins. If you're using WordPress, I'm not sure about the other ones, where you can go in and it will just compress every image on your website. You don't have to go in because when I first heard this, I was like, oh dear Lord, I've had my website for a long, long time. And to think about going in there and compressing every image, no, 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 no. That was a day I did not want to spend. But luckily for us, there are plugins that can go in and do that for us. So images can be compressed, alt text. Your image is representing you and your business. So your alt text should describe what's in any image that you're using. So for example, if you have a beautiful scenery, a beautiful like horse corral with horses, you would want the image alt text to say that, horse in a corral, and your website name, right? Or whatever name you want Google to find. So for me, I would put my name. And one of the things you've heard me talk about before, a lot of times people don't Google your amazing business name. And I know you put a lot of thought into your name, your beautiful, wonderful counseling.com, but people will not remember that. It will be their person on PTO with them who said, you know what, this amazing person, Susie Jones, I love her. I highly recommend her. They're going to Google Susie Jones, not your website or your business name most of the time. So in your alt text, you can put horse corral, Kate Walker Training, or Susie Jones Counseling. So, I'm pretty sure you can even put a location in there, which is even more helpful. I know we had a guest expert last year, Craig Alsop, that said anytime you can put your location into a blog or into your image, do that, because that's what Google has been looking for in the past. Now, Google has gone through some major changes. So nobody can really say what Google's doing right at this moment, and that's okay, I think. But it is one change you can make to your website today when you go into that alt text. That's alt text. So we've got one. Oh no, I haven't even said this yet. Okay, so here's I don't know if it's a pet peeve or it just makes sense to me. I've been a counseling consumer. I've been a counseling deliverer. Give me one way to contact you. Here's why, right? If I go to the grocery store and I'm trying to figure out what kind of grape jelly I want to buy, right? And I have 55 different types of grape jelly, I'm probably going to keep walking. But you give me 2 kinds of grape jelly, I'm going to make a better choice. It's easier for me to make a choice. Now, imagine if I'm a counseling client and I am going through something very stressful. That's kind of the definition of someone seeking our services, right? Anxiety goes up, cognition goes down. Cognition being executive function, being the way and how in depth we can get into our decision-making skills. So when you give me one choice, one way to contact you, I like that. Now, here's why I like it as a counseling deliverer, otherwise known as a practice owner. When I have one way for clients to access me, that means I only need to check one thing, y'all, right? I mean, if I've got phone messages and emails, and then maybe another phone that's getting text messages, or I've signed up for some crazy, real-time chat feature, that's like playing whack-a-mole. I mean, I'm trying to address all of the touches and all of the return texts and all of these things in so many different places. Plus, if you're using something like an online form that kind of came with your website, there are some real HIPAA implications, because that information, that form, is actually stored on a third-party app, some kind of, that they're of course sending it to you, right, as an email, but that information for your potential client could potentially be protected health information, right? So I recommend phone number for days, phone number, or give them your HIPAA compliant email, right? support@yourfabulouscounseling.com. Something where they can click, boom, fill out the information. For me, as I mentioned, I love the 10-minute consultation in the self-scheduling option. So when people came to my website, achievebalance.org, they would click the orange button. It would prompt them to select a day and a time. They fill out some basic information. Boom, it was on their calendar. It was on my calendar. Super easy. Did not require a lot of thought, a lot of decision making. There was nothing where they had to write a narrative and this is what's going on, where they might overshare, right? It's a lot easier for the potential client, and certainly a lot easier for the business owner. For those of you who are wondering what I use, it's called Full Slate, FULL Slate, SLATE, and it is HIPAA compliant, and it offers that free 10-minute consultation and a widget you can put into your website. You might need a little help with that because it is an HTML code, but part of what we're doing today is what can we do and what do we need to sort of farm out. So that brings me to another change you can make today, right? If I'm starting to convince you that you got to have some control over your website and you don't have help. Well, I know in Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses on our Facebook page, on the Wednesday lemonade stand, I see people all the time who are counselors or they're in the mental health field who also do web design. I mean, that's like a marriage made in heaven, right? So look at that. You could actually hire someone to help you with your website who is also in the business. Great, right? Do that. But if that could be one of the changes you make today. You say, you know what, I'm tired of trying to do this by myself. I need some help. All right, I promised you that I would give you some changes that you could make if you had more than a day, right? So if you have more time, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to Google emergency tire repair. That you heard me right. You can rewind this and listen again, but I'll say what I said. Emergency tire repair. So another funny story. If you drive to El Paso from Central Texas and it's over 100 degrees outside, what you may intuitively realize is that the pavement is about 1 billion degrees. So way, way hotter than the air. And as you're driving to El Paso, it is a tire graveyard. I'm not exaggerating here, folks. You just see pieces of tire all the way, all in the medians and the ditches on the road. That I-10 to El Paso eats tires for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So little foreshadowing, you probably can guess what happened. So my husband and I were driving. All of a sudden it's like, oh, the steering's a little squirrely. Our RV, thank goodness, is a dually, right? So it's got 2 tires kind of side by side on either side. And then of course, thump, 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 thump. All right, so here we are. We have 1 tire on the right side holding us up. We have another one that is shredded, and we have to get to a rest stop. Well, this is kind of where the parallel ends because there's 0 Wi-Fi where we were. So good news, we pulled into a truck stop. There was a truck sitting there that I swear had beams of light shining down. And I think there was probably a rainbow that ended right in this gentleman's truck bed because his sign on his truck said, and you can guess, 24-hour emergency tire repair. Thank you, God. So he repaired our tire. Now, you can imagine the kind of urgency we had driving on I-10 with miles and miles between exits and a very, very little Wi-Fi, right? So when you think about your potential client, right, they're coming to you because they have tried the coping skills. They're coming to you because they have put up with it for as long as they can. They have done what they could. They are exhausted and they need help. So when you look at your website, are you making your client work to find you? And the best way I can give you to answer that question for yourself is to Google emergency tire repair. Look at the fonts that they use. Look at the language that they use. Look at the verbs and the nouns, how they, get help now versus, hi, I want to tell you a little bit about counseling. And counseling is this mysterious process where nah. Think about what someone on the other side of that screen needs to see, what they need to hear if they are typing on their computer in the middle of the night because they just discovered that their teenager has run away again and they are out of resources, right? They don't want to hear all about your degree. They don't want to hear all about the voodoo that is our profession, right? It's not voodoo, by the way. You have to show them how to contact you quickly and get in to see you quickly. And other things, if you have more time to add to your website, put some free resources on there, right? Put some hotline numbers on there. Have a page that goes to NAMI, the NAMI website, where it talks about mental health issues in adolescence. If you've written a blog, if you have a handy checklist, if you have resources that parents might find helpful in PDF form that they can download. If you have time, if you have more than just today, put these things on your website and make them easy to access, right? Because we are in the helping profession. Whether this person becomes your client or not, you want to make sure that they get the resources they need to alleviate and mitigate whatever emergency is going on in their life, right? And you can go back and listen to other podcast episodes where I talk about resources you can put on your website, where I talk about even online courses that they can take, quickie little PowerPoint presentations with you talking over it, right? Something that they can get information quickly. And that brings me to my last thing. If you have time, get a fabulous headshot. Remember, I told you I was going to talk about the personal things that I do recommend you put on your website. What happens with counseling is an emotional connection, and it starts with your language, what the words are that you use on the website, and your face. I have gone onto so many websites lately, and I can't find the picture of the person. I don't know why, right? Because I Google you guys, I look you up, I try to see sort of, okay, what's everybody doing these days? What's kind of going out on in the world of marketing, private practice? You have to have a fabulous headshot of you. I saw one the other day. It was beautiful. It was just the counselor jumping on the beach, and somebody caught her in mid jump. And I thought, oh my gosh, that captures it. That right there, because I know this person. And it was so cool because I just think anybody looking for someone like what the service she was offering would have fallen in love with that photo of her. And that's that emotion right there. That's what's going to help your client make the decision to choose you. And if it's not a good fit, they can become a fan of yours who then refers your services to their friends and family, community members, folks who it might be a better fit. So that's what we're doing today. We're identifying changes to your website you can make in a day, and changes that you can make if you have more time. And if you don't have the skill set, or you're not able to access your back office, then by all means ask for help. Go into Texas Counselors Creating Badass Businesses. Look at that Wednesday lemonade stand. In fact, I'll make sure to put that on there the next time I open the lemonade stand on a Wednesday, and I'll say, okay, where are my website gurus? Right? I know you're going to connect with somebody because you're amazing. You have services that people need. So let's make it easy for those potential clients to find you. All right. I'm Dr. Kate Walker. Thanks so much for watching and listen. I'm going to hit the pause button and take questions from people attending live.